something that you can refer back to as you think about new experiences or new places that you'll go and you'll meet people that you might potentially want to build a relationship with. So I would encourage you to go back and take a look every now and then. Now we're going to talk about experience and how different experiences impact your ability to achieve pole position. And I like to compare it to a Swiss Army knife. And let's take a look at some of the key attributes that should immediately come to mind to describe what a person that is in pursuit of pole position ought to also contain. The first is the total package. So when you think about an Army knife, you generally can take this one tool and it can basically do whatever you could imagine it doing. So think about it from a camping perspective and the benefit of having one tool that can do several things instead of packing your bag with 6 or 7 other things. Diversity. So within this one package, you've got tools that do a number of different things. So again, just the ability to adapt to a number of situations based on the skills and the abilities of the different components. And then finally, when you know your tools, you're really a lethal weapon. So being able to use those whenever necessary and identifying the tools that you can use best so that you can apply them in different scenarios. So that's generally when you can really maximize the opportunities associated with tools if you can apply one skill set in many different areas to be successful beyond what its original intent would be. So let's talk about this a little bit more. First, becoming the total package, and what I like to call become the yin and the yang. So as we are thinking about career opportunities, we ought to prepare ourselves to just provide the entire spectrum of expertise if at all possible. So think about it from this perspective, being able to deliver independently and with a team. So if there's a big project that needs to be completed, a big problem that needs to be solved, knowing that you can take your piece, work on it, come up with some recommendations, identify where the issues might be, solve those, really, put and nurture that problem so that you can come back, bring it together with the group pull it all together, and then the likelihood of you completing that work faster is higher, I believe, just because everybody has gone off and they've worked independently and brought it together as a team. Leading and following with excellence. Most people like to spend time talking about, I'm the chair of this, I'm the leader of this, and that's all good. I really believe that there's a lot of benefit from strong leaders. But my personal opinion is that when you learn to follow with excellence, you ultimately become a better leader. Being able to take someone else's vision and help to bring that to fruition, knowing how to motivate other people, and knowing how to empower other folks to use their own skill sets. Those are all things that you learn from as you follow other people, because you think about, this is how I like to be led, and in turn, I can do that for other people. The ability to contribute and execute ideas. So most people that get invited to the table in the workplace are those that they know will come with something to offer. They know that they'll come with suggestions and recommendations, but also those people that can acknowledge, hey, there was a better idea on the table that might work better for a particular situation. So I'm going to move forward with that. I'm going to support that idea, and maybe some of the suggestions that I also brought can help to advance that particular thing. So being able to contribute and execute ideas is very helpful. The power of diversity. So a lot of times when we hear the term diversity, we think about diverse workforce, diversity in communities, diversity on campuses, but I think diversity in the workplace is equally as important. So I mentioned before that volunteerism is an area that is really underrated and doesn't get nearly as much credit as I would think that it should. So I think back to my undergrad days, and I was taking some database development courses as an elective. So I only took 2 or 3 classes. It wasn't my primary area of focus. So the instructors really didn't put a whole lot of effort into doing things beyond the assigned curriculum. So I really had an interest in it, wasn't real sure if it was an area that I wanted to work in more closely. So I looked at some of the organizations that I volunteered with in the community and offered up, hey, I think if I built a database to go on the back end, there may be some things that we can do to improve operations around here. It might help to streamline some of the things that we're doing. If it's okay, I'd like to use some of the resources that you have here in order to, see what I can do and really develop the skills. So this was a pretty low-risk opportunity for me to really see if I had a desire to move forward with, database management and database development. I was able to set my own schedule and project plan, and if it didn't work, it really didn't impact the business and the work that needed to be done. Additionally, stepping outside the comfort zone. So even along that same example of building a database, but thinking about all those additional things that might support that particular database. So marketing, how can I get other people engaged and on board to want to use this? And how can I market it such that another nonprofit might find benefit in it? The training piece of it. I knew that I would be graduating and would not have time to continue to maintain the system, so making sure that other people were prepared to take over. The documentation, anything technical requires good documentation so that it can help in troubleshooting or redeveloping or redesigning. So these are all things that were not necessarily the focus that I had as I was developing and building those systems, but they were enhancements that pushed me outside of my comfort zone and ultimately made me more valuable because these were experiences I was able to share with the employer. And then finally, daring to be different. So moving away from the status quo, not thinking about how it's always been done, but being willing to take risks, daring to be different. And then finally, with experience, knowing your tools. So part of the reason why we ask you to list your brand attributes and your growth opportunities is so that if nothing else, you are familiar with the areas in which you're strong and then the areas in which you really have an interest in moving forward. So one of the things that I noted in the document is that growth opportunities really create the pipeline of new skills that can be developed moving forward. So strengths ought to be exercised whenever possible to keep skills sharp. And I think about foreign languages that I've taken. So I took French from middle school into my third semester of college and was borderline conversational. My first roommate was from France, so we really had a chance to connect and I was able to learn more about the language. At the instant in which the credit was no longer required for me to get a degree, I stopped taking the classes because it was a whole lot of work. And as a result of that, I probably know a good 50 words or so. So when I think about where I was and was conversational to where I am now, if I had continued to really practice in the language, the likelihood of me being able to remain conversational would be higher. But because I didn't exercise it, I can probably pick up on some words and piece some stuff together, but not enough to consider it a skill or to be fluent. The same applies with growth opportunities. So once you've identified this is a skill that I'd like to develop, it's important that you continue to practice it to ensure effective development. So you're nurturing that particular skill so that it is one that you will become stronger at. And then finally, there's always a better chance of achieving pole position once you find some things that you're passionate about. And a lot of people, I don't think, take the time to really be honest with themselves about what are those things that really motivate me to do my best work, especially when we think about, the next opportunity for careers. I know a lot of people, even in the area in which I work, that want to pursue an administrative path just because there's a certain level of respect that goes along with it. There's a monetary gain, but it's not necessarily, something that they are most passionate about. And those kinds of things, they really come across as you work with them. So I would strongly encourage you to identify ways that you can give back and make a difference in things that you're passionate about. And here's my last example about me. I really have a desire to work with people and to empower people. So while I really enjoy IT and the things that change in IT, I look for opportunities in which I can apply IT in different areas. So with that people management thing, that's how I joined the recruiting team, because I knew that it would give me an opportunity to give back, connect with students, and help them to identify areas of IT that would be a best fit for them. In addition to that, I expressed interest in the intern program because, again, I knew that interns fueled the pipeline for leadership within our company. So having an impact on those students and developing a curriculum that would allow them to grow professionally, grow personally, and really give them a taste of the different opportunities available at Lilly. That's how I was able to find the things that I'm most passionate about, but still be able to apply that IT background, because I'm helping the company to identify our next set of leaders. So I would certainly encourage you to do the same, especially as you continue to move forward in your IT career. Bobby, did you have anything else that you wanted to share around any of these? No? Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I've included my contact information. I think everybody in the room already has it. We'll certainly encourage you to support Bobby with Pro Circuit, which is an initiative that he's working on. So if you have a Twitter account or Facebook, look him up. Feel free to reach out, and we thank you for your time.
Favorite